Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Movie and TV Talk. This is a special episode because I am a Transformers fan, and so I am making a whole separate episode because I got to see Transformers Rise of the Beasts in the theaters, and now I'm going to talk about it. Please remember that there will be spoilers. The movie starts with a narration by Primal, and we go to a planet, whatever planet, where the Maximals are, and this planet is about to be eaten by Unicron. However, the Maximals are in possession of an item called the Transwarp Key, which is what Unicron is after. Ape Link has the key, but he gives it to Primal and tells him to use it to get away so that Unicron would end up getting trapped, and that's what they do. Yes, Ape Link does die, but oh my god, Scourge is so menacing in the beginning of this movie. Like, he's just like walking through a forest, right, and it's dark. You can just see the orange glow from his chest as he's coming out and then speaks for the first time. It is just so menacing and badass, and I love it. We get introduced then to our two humans, not at the same time, but I'm just lumping them in at the same time. We have Noah, the ex-soldier who's struggling in life and trying to work towards a better life. His brother is sick and they can't really afford to pay the hospital bills. The other character is Elena, who works at a museum and never really gets credit for her work. And she's the one that ends up finding a thing that has the Maximal symbol on it, and she ends up discovering one half of the Transwarp Key, which, mind you, it's not until a bit later in the movie that they realize it's in halves, but I'm going to refer to it as first half, second half, so yeah. Anyway, the key shoots like a beam into the sky that only the Cybertronians can see, and that leads into the introduction of Prime, RC, Bumblebee, and eventually Mirage in the movie. There is an interesting and funny moments of Noah trying to steal this silver Porsche that ends up being Mirage and having to run from the cops and all that, basically. All the Autobots meet and they decide that they need to get the Transwarp Key because it would get them back to Cybertron. The problem is that one half is in the museum that Elena works at, so they enlist the help of Noah for this heist. The heist doesn't go well because the Terrorcons show up and, you know, they want that key half as well, so a battle happens. The battle does not go in the favor of the Autobots because not only do the Autobots lose the first half of the key, but Bumblebee gets killed by Scourge. Scourge takes the half back to Unicron, but Unicron isn't happy because it's only half of the key, not the whole thing, and Unicron punishes him almost kind of in a way that he would to Galvatron in like G1. From here, the crew of Autobots goes to Peru because this is where the second half of the key is located, and this is where we are introduced to Wheeljack. Also before that, we get introduced to Stratosphere. Mirage gives Noah a glove thing that serves as both a flashlight and a gun, which I guess that's nice to have. They send Noah and Elena to get the second half of the key, which is a little shaky because the Terrorcons show up and they send some Freezors after Noah and Elena. We get another battle between the Autobots and Terrorcons, which ends with Scourge hitting Airazor because the Maximals, well, only she shows up with some sort of device. They all regroup at a village where the Maximals have been hanging out since they've been on Earth, and they let the humans in the village take care of the other half of the key. This is where we get to see the thing that Scourge hit Airazor with, because it basically turns her into a Terrorcon, so she steals the second half of the key and delivers it to Scourge. Scourge tells Airazor to kill Primal, and the two fight. Unfortunately, Primal is forced to kill her, and you can really tell by the look on Primal's face that it's not something he wants to do, but he knows that there's no other option. It is really well done. Scourge takes the second half of the key and unites it with the first half and shoots a portal into the sky for Unicron to come through. This basically leads into the final battle. The final battle is very large, no doubt, but it's mostly the Autobots and Maximals fighting against Battletrap, Nightbird, and literal armies of Freezors and Scorponauts. Anyway, the final battle goes the way of Prime killing Scourge and stopping Unicron from coming through the portal and basically trapping Unicron once again. They didn't defeat him, so he's got room to come back. After that, the world is saved. Elena finally gets credit for her work. Noah gets an interview with a guy that wants to recruit him to be a part of the G.I. Joes, and that's pretty much it. So, what did I think of Transformers Rise of the Beasts? Well, there's a lot more here that I liked, some I didn't like, and some things I didn't really expect. The first thing that I didn't really expect was that mid-credit scene with the G.I. Joe thing in it. Apparently some people have taken issue with this, but I don't get why when it's such a small part of the movie. Plus, G.I. Joe and Transformers have been an intertwined thing since 1987, whenever the first 4-issue limited comic book series of G.I. Joe versus the Transformers was. And they've crossed numerous times after that, and some of them pretty interesting. And honestly, I would be all for a G.I. Joe Transformers movie. I honestly would. The other interesting thing is that they actually used Stratosphere in the movie. This was a character that got a toy in the Revenge of the Fallen toy line, and I think he was a character in the Dark of the Moon video game as well. I could be wrong though. I mean, they changed his design, gave him a different airplane mode for this movie, but they actually used a nobody character, and I like that. I would love to see more of that. Now I'm going to try to encompass some of the things I didn't like here all at once, because it kind of fits all in one. You can definitely tell which of the robot characters are the main focus of the movie. I wish that RC and Wheeljack got more speaking lines. Wheeljack has one line. One! And then he's just there to be extra firepower during the final battle. Same can kind of be said also, but with the fact that Cheetor gets one line and Rhinox doesn't say anything in the movie, and both are just kind of there for extra power in the final battle. Airazor does get a lot more speaking lines, but we don't ever get to see her robot mode before she dies, and she's the only permanent death on the side of the Autobots and Maximals. Yes, Bumblebee does die in the movie, but he does come back, and that kind of felt way too convenient. He gets put on in a pool of energon, but it's not, it's inert basically, and they don't have enough power to make it work. Then during the final battle, some kind of energy wave happens and makes energon glowing, throughout the area, and this just happens to be enough to bring Bumblebee back. Yay! As much as Bumblebee does get sidelined for most of the movie, though, he does have some pretty funny moments since he uses a lot of movie quotes. Mirage was also great in this movie, and it was nice having Mirage be the Autobot that the main human bonds with. I like Bumblebee, don't get me wrong, but it's nice that Bumblebee takes a backseat during this movie to let another Autobot shine alongside of Optimus Prime. Speaking of Prime, he was very interesting in this movie. Prime came across he's not such a stoic leader that he usually is. He seems unsure of himself. Also, he very much is going through a lot in the movie because he blames himself for basically everything that's happened to the Autobots. He blames himself for being so far from them being so far from Cybertron. For when Bumblebee dies, he's blaming himself, saying it should have been him. He's not his usual self, and also, yes, he is a bit more bloodthirsty in this movie, kind of similar to how he is in the Bay films, but he feels like he's coming into becoming a leader, but not in the way that Prime in the War for Cybertron trilogy was. They managed to humanize Optimus and give him a character arc. He doesn't trust humans. He only trusts their kind, the Cybertronians. There's a moment when the Autobots and Maximals, they go to this village, and Prime sees how Primal entrusted the protection of the second half of the transwarp key to humans. It's kind of an eye-opening experience for Optimus. Plus, there's a moment when, in the same village, when Noah is about to destroy the second half of said key, because he wants to save Earth, and he doesn't care about the rest of it, but Prime is able to talk him out of it, and then kind of have this moment with Noah where he's just like, I lost sight of the fact that, I'm supposed to protect, and, to work as a team, basically, that it's not all on him. Prime has to learn to trust humans and work better in a team, which that is also something that Noah has to learn as well. I also don't mind Prime being bloodthirsty, because Scourge does kill Bumblebee in the movie, and I feel like Prime's drive to want to kill Scourge is very much justified. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. It's got good action, good comedy, good soundtrack, and score moments as well. It's not a perfect movie, doesn't take my number one ranked Transformers live action movie. My current ranking of the Transformers live action movies is like this. Number 1 is Bumblebee. Number 2 is Rise of the Beasts. Number 3 is the 2007 Transformers movie. Number 4 is Dark of the Moon. Number 5, The Last Knight. Number 6, Age of Extinction. And number 7, Revenge of the Fallen. Transformers Rise of the Beasts is a good and enjoyable movie. That's all I have to say, so if you like this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.